Welcome back. My name is Robert Newman. You found the InboundREM YouTube channel, and today what we're going to talk about is the 5 W's that sell anything. All right. So I have sold thousands of things, services, products. I've designed presentations for companies like Sony and Sprint and many other companies to boot, AT&T, WorldCom. I've written scripts, I've done door knocking, I've done phone presentations, and ultimately you've got two types of sales. You have the 30-second presentation, which is door knocking and telemarketing. And you don't really get to do the who, what, why, when, where. The 5 W's don't really work in that circumstance because door knocking is more like who you are, what you want, and benefit offer. So it'd be like, hi, I'm Robert. I represent the gas company. We're here to upgrade your pipe, which will save you money and lower your bill and be more gas efficient, which is better for the environment. Will you give me 5 minutes to run through the details with you? Something like that. Like fast, bang, bang, bang. You're done in 30 seconds or less. So what the 5 W's are is when you get to engage in actual storytelling with the objective of having a message inside the story that will propel your offer forward. These 5 W's are going to do that for you. And I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of an outline so that you can use the 5 W's whenever you're ready to sell through storytelling, which, by the way, this is the process that I use when I'm creating videos, when I'm making offers for clients, when I'm consulting with people on the telephone, which I've been doing throughout the entire of my 35 plus years selling stuff. Okay, I've always consulted on the side. I've consulted with the University of New Mexico, the Business Development Department, as an example, and teaching people how to create offers to raise capital, and I can go on and on. The best way to do all of that is by creating a compelling story, and the who, the what, the why, the when, the where, it's always gonna work, all right? So you can start where and how you organize the 5 W's is gonna depend on what you're talking about. So usually you start with, like, if it's a personal offer from you to somebody else, then it's gonna be the who, like, why am I making the offer? So who you are. And every single person watching this, if you don't already understand how to talk about yourself in 30 seconds or less to anybody that you're having a discussion with, well, then you are missing one of the most valuable lessons that you'll ever learn about being a salesperson or an entrepreneur. You need to be able to tell what your personal mission is, who you are, and what you want to accomplish in 30 seconds or less. My name is Robert Newman. I'm revolutionizing real estate through the art of storytelling and inbound marketing. That's it. So the win is oftentimes compelling when you're telling a story and you're building up a little bit of momentum. You want to frame the story about when it takes place. So it could be the 1970s, it could be the 1980s. When is how you build momentum into the who and what. Like I already have shared that I've done sales for 35 years. That's kind of the win. It's a vague win as part of my storytelling. Where is oftentimes, this is very relevant when it comes to real estate, because where you are as part of your story, location, lifestyle, is an incredibly relevant part when you're using the 5 W's to tell a story. So who you are, the best thing that I can say about who you are is, let's break this down. Who? You always want to let everybody know when you're a real estate agent who you are in reference to what makes you up as a person. Are you a father, a coach? And you want to use archetypes when you're describing who. If you don't know what an archetype is, read a little bit of Jung. Archetypes are, I'm a teacher, I'm a scientist, I'm an educator, I'm a preacher. These are archetypes, vast, huge. I am a salesperson and a storyteller. These are vast archetypes. Does that even begin to cover what I do as a CEO of InboundREM? No, it doesn't. But it does give you all a frame of reference about how I identify myself. That is the who. Break yourself down into an archetype. The what. The what is always about your story, is what is relevant to the other person. All right? What's funny about it? What's relatable about it? So what's relatable about what I do, the story of InboundREM, like if you're building up a company story, what's relevant is the what is how we were formed. And for me, the what in this particular case boils down to what other companies weren't doing that I wanted to see done. And then I broke that down into a list of services. So what and why are closely related. What can also be a service as part of your story. So when you're telling a story about a service, make sure that that part of what is, you combine what and why. Like, because if you've got a service like I do, like local marketing, the why of it is really, it's where the marketplace is going. It's where you can generate a lot of leads. The same thing is true of video SEO. That's a what, but the why is because it's where you can rank very fast and you can generate a lot of leads. So the who and the what are very important. And I don't think I'm giving you the best explanation about what, and I apologize for that. I may have to come back to that. The when in terms of real estate storytelling is really incredibly relevant, okay? Because when is a gateway to a story about like properties, okay? Properties are like when. This property was built in 1945, the property that I'm doing this video out of. The room that I'm sitting in was added into the house by the original owner. And I just had a conversation with him the other day. And that can be part of the who as well. You always relate who, what, when, where, why. Okay, so it's when it was built in 1945. Do you see how good that kind of launches me into a story about time? And then I can talk about how many different ways this room that I'm in right now has been utilized. And that is the why, and that is also the where. Okay, so we always break stories down in our brain to who, what, when, where, why. I've done this for a very long time, and this helps segment you out into a framework so that storytelling becomes easier. Using the 5 W's is just a formulaic way of starting to break down into what you want to say. Like if you're writing presentations, you're going to go who, what, when, where, why, even though most presentations don't actually have a fully built out who, what, when, where, why, because you don't have enough time. But you do usually have a fleshed out who, what, when, where, why. If you're doing sales service consulting like I do, where you're on the phone with somebody for hours, and then the who and the where, like where are you? What's your story as it relates to location? I'll give everybody an example. Today I was on the phone with somebody from Park City, Utah. And the where becomes a huge part of the story because anybody that's familiar with Park City knows that it is a ski town and it has 5 accessible ski areas that are very close to the city itself. And so the where becomes part of the story. You can just talk about Park City. That's the where. And you can say, have 5 details ready to go about the where. What are 5 relevant things about Park City? Well, it's in Ogden, Utah. That's a relevant thing. That's also part of the where. And then it's like lifestyles and snow, ski, hiking town. And there's probably a few other details. To be honest with you, I don't know that much about Park City, so I'm using a bad example. But the where becomes, you need those 5 details about the where that you can spit out very, very quickly as part of your personal story, about building a story as it relates to a presentation, about using a storytelling to compel people to come to your part of the world and buy into the lifestyle, which is how, when I put this subject together today, I was really thinking in my brain, how do we get people to tell compelling stories about the place that they live? Well, I live in Van Nuys. Van Nuys is extremely urban. There's very little about it that's exciting, except for the fact that it is convenient. So that would fall into what? And the why. Why do I live here? Well, the why in the sense of Van Nuys is probably the biggest part of the story because I'm close to 2 freeways. My neighborhood allows really loud music. It's mostly Hispanic, and I like to have big parties every once in a while. So the why becomes a huge part of the story of Van Nuys for me. It's why do I live here? And there's a little bit of what, because I have a pool and a jacuzzi. I have basically like a very, very, very nice spot. The nicest in my area by a million miles. Because the guy, this is the who, he built this house. When he built this house, he did the add-on. He built out a jacuzzi, he built out a hot tub, and he basically made this place incredibly nice, way nicer than all the other areas. And it turns out that he used to own most of the block, which I did not know, but I found out this week, which is another reason why I decided to do this particular video, the 5 W's, is that this week has been full of storytelling for me. The landlord of this property is 85 years old, and he's getting ready to pass this property on to his kids. And so we talk a lot, or me, it just depends. And we're sell it to me, not pass it along to me. But we're talking about, he's talking a lot about this neighborhood and how he used to own all the properties on either side of him. And that's, another reason why he built this out so well and so massively. His whole family was here. His brother, his like 4 relatives owned most of this block, which I did not know. They owned property that's now an apartment building right down the street. They own this whole spot, and this was the central hub, this house that I live in. Now, everything else has been sold, and this is the only property that he's held on to in this area. And you can start to see how this is a compelling story, I hope, and that how you can relate it to the who, what, when, where, and why. Why does he hold on to it? It's probably sentimental, and it's a good investment because he did so much work on it. So when we're talking about building out a story, you want to connect the who, what, when, where, why into your particular story, and you want to start listening for it. If you want to start learning how to relate the 5 W's, here's how you do it, the best way to do it. Find people that you think are compelling speakers, because you'll notice that most compelling speakers are compelling storytellers. And I promise you, if you start to relate everything to who, what, when, where, why, you're going to discover that most really great orators and speakers do this. They have a who, what, when, where, and why. And you can start to recognize it inside their story, which will help you be a better storyteller yourself. You really listen to what people are saying, and you'll discover the 5 W's. And if you discover the 5 W's, you can start to use the 5 W's. And if you use the 5 W's, you'll become brilliant storytellers. That's all I've got today. My name has been Robert Newman. Check out InboundREM.com. Give me a thumbs up if I did a good job today. We appreciate your time.